Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for Ray Whitcomb for joining us as he does most every Thursday to give his big view here at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'd like to welcome a next regular here on Thursdays, GoLocal columnist,
Hello,
Bob
Kate.
Whitcomb.
How are you?
Welcome back. Thanks for coming in.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you
Yeah.
as well. Nice to see the snow mostly gone.
Yeah. It's just too dark. That's what I don't like. So I got one of those light things.
Did you really?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
You got light therapy?
Yeah.
Does it make
Light
you all
therapy.
happy?
Well, it reduces homicidal tendencies. That's
Well, I'm
what I
kind of
say.
glad to
Yeah.
hear that as you come into the studio
These
here.
are also good for Alzheimer's, even though in my case you might not notice that. You might not.
Are they? I did
see
not know
any
this.
benign effects from that.
Well, I'm just glad
That's
it's
right. No, seriously,
it's for
they're
Alzheimer's,
using
yeah.
light boxes to thwart dementia.
Now, is this the first time you've used one?
Yeah, I got one around Labor Day. I knew things were getting dark all over the world, and I thought that was the time to get one of these things.
Fascinating.
It
I
cost
wanna-
about $50. You put it on your desk about maybe a foot and a half, 2 feet away, and occasionally look at it while you're reading.
Let there
working
be
on the
light,
computer.
and you feel better.
And you do feel better. And when I discovered it helps prevent Alzheimer's. I'm going to get a bigger one, maybe a wall size.
two for
Wall
one.
size. And you don't get a sunburn from it, anything like that.
Fantastic. I've always heard about these. Never knew
Yeah.
anyone who did it.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep checking in on you and
A
see,
lot of good
see how you're
research on
feeling.
it. It's supposed to be also weirdly somehow good for your skin, which I don't understand. But anyway.
Well, you're going to come back in looking
Yeah.
even better than ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
with my gorilla mask.
As we stand here today, the big
Yeah.
news in Providence this week that GoLocal had unveiled
Yeah.
was the rendering put forth by Gilbane and Paolino,
Right.
submitted to Hasbro to say if you're looking to build a headquarters here in Providence,
Right.
tear down the Superman
Tear down the
building and
Superman
put this
building, yeah.
building up. What was your reaction?
Well, I think first of all, I think if that plans had gone out that much, I think it's a serious proposal. The other thing to remember is Hasbro has been trying to buy Mattel for a long time. Third thing to remember is Hasbro is not just a toy company, it's an entertainment company. I believe they even have a film unit. So it's growing rapidly. You've got the Rhode Island School of Design downtown Providence, all those designers, including film people. So it may make a lot of sense. Now, a lot of people are going to be the big giant tears if they tear down the Superman building because it's the only real, I guess you could say, the only real skyscraper in town. Kind of classic, that overused word, iconic,
Can I ask
Art
you to take a
Deco.
step over here
Yeah,
with
we
me?
go. Let's dance.
Let's dance.
Iconic tower, but that's all well and good, but it's been vacant for what, 5 years?
That's been
5
vacant.
years. So if it's so wonderful, how come nobody will buy it and pump $60 to $100 million into it, which you would need to retrofit? People have to remember, when you take an old building like that, it's extremely expensive to retrofit for modern offices. It's step, for one thing, which screws up the economics of it. You've got to rearrange the utilities for computers. So that's a problem. Another problem I always had with the building, and I would be sad if they tore it down, two other problems. One, it's got limestone facing, which looks dirty and crumbly. And two, the top of it looks like an incinerator.
It kind of does
Yeah,
as we're
yeah,
sitting here.
Yeah,
And you can see
we
it right up
actually
there.
see it, yeah. It looks like an incinerator.
Actually, it looks really pretty with the sun hitting it every
Yeah,
at this
yeah.
time of day.
No, that's actually an explosion. It's not the sun. Right.
Can always count on Bob to
That's
add
right.
some color commentary
No,
here.
Bring spot news.
Well, it's interesting too. The proposal, as I have to look back at the camera here, to actually demolish it. I mean, even that in and of
Right.
itself, the controlled explosion of the apartment building in Providence.
That didn't go very well, but it was great for a lot of jokes.
We've revisited
That's right,
that and
yeah.
GoLocal today.
And
We've
to try to
actually
do
put
it
some video.
in the middle
In
of
the
a
middle of
dense
the city.
downtown, this could be exciting, but I'm sure it's been done before. I'll have to do some research. Most of these demolitions have been public housing stuff put up in the 30s and 40s that turned into crime nest and they tear them down. But taking down an entire late 1920s skyscraper would be very interesting.
Can we expect some musings
Yeah.
in your column this weekend on that?
Yeah, I'll muse at that. One of the things I was musing on, one of the best things about the building, probably the best one, is the first floor, the glorious public banking area.
Yes.
It's just a palace. And wouldn't it be great if they could somehow build over that?
Just
you
leave
know?
the base.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
leave the
right.
base somehow and build
Absolutely.
up. Just was there this week. It's a beautiful interior.
Yeah, oh, it's gorgeous.
The
It's
columns,
gorgeous.
the
columns,
the marble.
I think there's brass, marble, and so I think this is a plausible project. It could well happen. I know people be saddened by this, but the economics of downtown office buildings is such that it's hard to see saving the Superman building.
So we'll see what happens moving forward. Again, GoLocal had gotten those renderings
Yeah,
exclusively,
yeah.
put it out there to let folks know this was on the table. But speaking of old things going by the wayside, let's talk about the Boston Herald.
Yeah, which I used to work for a predecessor company of this OH and I called the Boston Herald Traveler, which, by the way, is famous. The evening paper was the Traveler, the morning paper, the same company, was the Herald. And they had the first story on the street about the JFK assassination,
Did they?
appropriately in Boston, of course. Yeah, the Traveler. I think Mr. Purcell, his family own that property. They've made their money basically from the sale of the real estate, where the Boston Herald was produced in a building put up, I'm thinking early '60s, where I worked. And he, I think it was for $4.5 million to Gatehouse. Gatehouse is sort of an asset stripping operation, so they don't pay a high price. I was a little bit surprised they didn't get a little bit more than that, because they do have a market. It's kind of a middle and down market following. It's a very rich city. I'm surprised he didn't get a little bit more than that.
4.5?
Yeah, 4.5. Now again, he made his money. Everybody forgets it wasn't the newspapers, the real estate.
It was the real estate.
Yeah. But I think it's sad.
Were you surprised when you saw it?
No. Maybe a little surprised by the price, but not by the sale, because Mr. Purcell has been trying to sell that thing for really it's the Coolidge administration, I think. But,
Speaking of things being old,
yeah.
here we are on Thursday. It seems
Yeah.
an ages ago
Yeah.
that the Alabama Senate special election
Yeah,
happened,
right.
and Doug Jones pulled out the win. What was
yeah,
your thoughts on that?
I thought the coverage of that was a little misleading after it happened. They said a big upset. No, we knew it was going to be close. In fact, one poll before the election had Jones had 10 points, and then another had him behind 9 points, and the other way around.
I think we've seen a lot of
Yeah.
times, especially since 16, the difficulties in
Yeah.
polling
Yeah.
inherently.
You should ask the chap up at Harvard.
The chap up at
Yeah.
Harvard, I'm talking to next.
Yeah, good. Ask him about that. Ask him about how well the polls worked in that. I'm glad he was defeated. Mr. Moore was defeated, not just because the sexual abuse stuff charge, which I believe, but I consider him also a crook. He's run this foundation. He put himself and his wife on the payroll. He's a member of the religion racket, basically. A lot of money in that. And I think actually it'd be good for the Republican Party that this guy is not going to be serving in the Senate. I know Mitch McConnell is very happy. I think, and I don't think it's this huge blow to Trump that it's being, presented to be. For one thing, the old adage, a week is an eternity in politics. No, in fact, it could be good for him. This embarrassing man won't be in the Senate.
Well, as I said, 2 days seems like a lifetime.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
before we talk with the chap up at Harvard,
Yeah.
what can we expect to hear from you this weekend in your column?
Okay, what am I talking? Well, there's a great story. There's a wonderful column up in Maine, the Portland Press Herald, which is a good little paper. I don't know if that's owned by Gatehouse. No, I think that may be still locally owned. Anyway, about coddling students at colleges. They're to deal with the anxiety of final exams, papers. And the way they do it at one of the University of Maine campuses is they have puppies, and they have a puppy party. You would appreciate this.
I would so appreciate
As
a puppy
mother of
party.
a puppy. They have these puppy parties, and they're holding these puppies because they're so distressed. And apparently down at Yale University, you can take out a puppy, to soothe yourself. Because these kids are so under such stress and anxiety. And I think this is sort of cute and funny at the same time. You kind of wonder what's going to happen when they go out in the wide, the Tom Lair's gruesome line, soon we'll be out in the cold world strife, soon we'll be sliding down the razor blade of life.
But you're pointing out the puppies.
Yeah, you're pointing out the puppies.
Pointing at the
I don't
puppies.
think they're going to find that kind of warmth and cuddly stuff when they get out of college. So,
Well, we'll look for that in the column this
Yeah.
weekend. But speaking of colleges,
yeah.
we're going to have to Skype up to
Yeah.
John Del Vope at Harvard.
Great.
So look forward
Yeah.
to reading your column this
Okay.
weekend.
Look
We'll have you
forward.
back in next week.
See you soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye,
Bob
everybody.
Whitcomb. as he does every week, comes here to Go Local to talk about recent columns, recent events, what we can expect in his upcoming column. Go Local columnist Bob Whitcomb, always appreciate his coming in. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with John Della Volpe up at Harvard.